Ket Torres, born in Brazil on October 24, 1989, grew up in a family where her father suffered from alcoholism and poverty was a constant companion. Despite the difficult circumstances, at the tender age of 12, the girl began experimenting with her appearance, painting her lips bright red and wearing a Coco Chanel-style haircut. Her attractiveness did not go unnoticed, and friends predicted a brilliant future for the young beauty in the modeling business. Filled with hope for a better life, Ket sent her photos to a modeling agency in her teens. She was instantly invited to a photo shoot, and her first paycheck allowed the girl to finally leave her parents' home. When Ket turned 18, she received an offer to move to Europe, which marked the beginning of her dizzying career. Having become a professional model, Ket traveled the world, participating in swimwear and lingerie photo shoots in countries like South Korea and Colombia. Her face increasingly graced the covers of glossy magazines, and her fame grew steadily. After moving to the USA, the girl found herself in the midst of a glamorous life, attending parties in celebrity circles. Once the paparazzi photographed Ket in the company of Leonardo DiCaprio himself, and the Brazilian media instantly began writing about their whirlwind romance, which, however, was short-lived. Settling in a luxurious apartment with a view of the Statue of Liberty, the model impressed her neighbors with her expensive wardrobe and accessories. It became apparent that a generous sponsor had appeared in the girl's life. Ket confessed to her closest friends that she was dating an influential Russian oligarch who paid for her luxurious housing and expensive gifts, such as diamond-encrusted watches. Initially, the model did not disclose his name, simply calling her mysterious lover, A. photo of the oligarch, which Ket showed to one of her confidants, depicted an elderly man with a somewhat strange appearance. Despite passionate feelings and daily phone conversations, the lovers' meetings were infrequent. The girl flew to France for dates or rode on her chosen one's yacht, rarely visiting Russia. However, even during periods of separation from the oligarch, Ket was not bored. There were other men in her life who were willing to pay for the attention and love of the charming Brazilian. But this carefree period did not last long. Serious health problems and an emergency surgery to remove breast implants forced the beauty to leave the modeling podium for a long time. The recovery was difficult and lengthy, and former admirers, including the Russian billionaire, quickly lost interest in the girl who no longer fit their image of the ideal. An attempt to start an acting career proved unsuccessful, but ties with the Hollywood elite led to a fascination with ayahuasca, a psychedelic drink used by Indian shamans to communicate with spirits. Attending ceremonies where people sat on the floor for hours, singing ritual songs, according to her friends, negatively affected Ket's mental state. The girl herself claimed that even as a child she had the gift of foresight, which she called her inner voice. The use of ayahuasca only strengthened her belief in her own chosenness and special mission to help people. It was in America that Ket's popularity on social media reached unprecedented heights. Creating her own brand, she taught subscribers to lead a healthy lifestyle, attract love, money, and make their wildest dreams come true. Her page was full of attractive photos, inspirational quotes and helpful tips. It seemed that the blogger's life was one big holiday, full of travel and entertainment. Millions of followers watched the twists and turns of her fate. Ket's personal life also did not stand still. She began a romance with a young businessman named Ben, who helped his beloved develop her brand. Torres even wrote a motivational book, Voice, in which she openly spoke about her difficult childhood, full of cruelty and violence, and how she managed to break free from poverty and achieve success against all odds. In 2017, Ket began conducting personal coaching sessions for women, during which she motivated them, gave advice on self-care and achieving inner harmony. While advertising her services online, she promised to help clients solve any problems. Many subscribers found solace and support in her words. Torres' online consultations resembled therapy sessions. She skillfully calmed, encouraged and mentored her wards. The cost of one meeting reached $150. Together with Ben, Ket attended various churches and studied religious practices. She was particularly fascinated by the famous Brazilian medium João de Deus, who was later sentenced to 500 years in prison for sexual assault. Another idol of the girl was the American coach Tony Robbins, whose success she dreamed of repeating. One of the blogger's clients, Anna, said that she found Ket during the most difficult period of her life, when she was suffering from the consequences of toxic relationships, health problems, and depression. The girl clung to Torres as a last straw. While studying in Boston, Anna agreed to Ket's offer to move to New York and become her housekeeper. The blogger promised to pay $2,000 a month for taking care of her cats, cooking and cleaning. However, reality turned out to be far from the promises. Ket's apartment was drowning in dirt and chaos, and the hostess herself struck with her helplessness in household matters. The model almost never slept, constantly demanding attention and communication from her assistant. Ket actually isolated Anna from the outside world, forcing her to work almost around the clock without days off and never paying the promised money. Soon the girl realized that she had become a victim of manipulation and exploitation. Only after 3 months did she manage to escape from Ket, who continued to harass her assistant with calls and messages asking her to return. Anna was afraid to expose her former employer, suspecting that she was not the blogger's only victim. In the summer of 2022, 32-year-old Ket, together with her new 21-year-old fiancé Zach, moved to Texas, where the couple rented a spacious 5-bedroom house. However, after a few months they were evicted for non-payment. Neighbors saw the residents of the house throwing out boxes with broken voodoo dolls and dried herbs, which Torres ordered in large quantities for resale through social networks. By that time, Ket was already advertising the possibility of healing from diseases through magic to her subscribers, doubling the cost of consultations. During online sessions, she talked about her communication with otherworldly entities, which for Christians personified God, and for others, the spirits of ancestors. Sometimes, a few days after the consultation, the blogger contacted the clients, claiming that she heard an inhuman voice that gave advice on their life situations. According to Ket, those who listened to this advice achieved success and happiness, while the rest suffered terrible consequences. After moving to Austin, where the couple rented a new spacious house, Torres intensified her search for assistance. One day she called her Brazilian client, Desiree, in tears, begging her to urgently come to her, because her health was deteriorating and her days were supposedly numbered. Emphasizing that she trusted only her and the groom, Ket persuaded the girl to drop everything and fly to Austin. Soon Torres announced on social media the creation of her own coven. In addition to Desiree, 2 more of her young clients, Letitia and Sol, moved into the blogger's house. Crossing the threshold of Torres' home, new assistants immediately found themselves in a dark room, furnished for witchcraft rituals. In the middle of the room towered a massive altar, surrounded by burning candles and icons. Ket knelt before this altar and appealed to higher powers with prayers for the health and success of her wards. Among the girls who fell under Torres' influence was Sol, a former yoga teacher from Boston. Sol hides her real name and face, fearing publicity. Ket assured her that she would pay a decent amount of money for help in developing the business, but the reality turned out to be different. The girl actually became a servant in the blogger's house, not receiving a penny for her work. One day, Torres told Sol that she had a special mission. According to Ket, the girl was supposed to get a job as a dancer in a strip club, where she would meet her future husband. The inner voice allegedly whispered to her that it would be a happy and long marriage. Sol did not dare to contradict the self-proclaimed guru. Another girl, Desiree, came to Torres directly from Brazil. Ket willingly shared with her the spicy details of her experience in the escort industry, telling how famous models earned huge money by spending nights with rich men. The blogger hinted to Desiree that she had invested a significant amount in her arrival and settling in, which now needed to be worked off. Ket intimidated the girl, threatening to put a curse on her if she dared to run away. Desiree had to work as a dancer in a strip club, giving all the money she earned to Torres. Thanks to her attractiveness and plasticity, the Brazilian quickly became the star of the establishment, earning good money. "I had to undress in front of men, caress them with my naked body, listen to brutal comments, Desiree recalls. In just 2 weeks, she earned $9,000, which Ket instantly appropriated, putting it in a safe in her bedroom. The girl's passport also ended up in storage there. Torres convinced her that carrying documents with her was dangerous, as it threatened to reveal the secret of Desiree's illegal stay in the country. Soon Ket set a strict plan for her ward. Every day the girl had to bring at least $1,000, otherwise she was not allowed on the threshold of the house. Desiree had to sleep outdoors several times, on a park bench. Exhausted by endless work and stress, she began to get sick often. The girl did not understand why, instead of the promised help in developing a business, she was forced to trade her body. In response to her questions, Torres shrugged her shoulders, saying that Desiree had not yet worked off the investments made in her. Moreover, the blogger claimed that she had to sit over magical rituals day and night so that her ward could enter the States without a visa. Meanwhile, Ket continued to share a roof with her 3 assistants and fiancé Zach. Strict rules applied in the house. The girls were forbidden to communicate with each other and leave their rooms without the mistress's permission. They had to be obedient slaves, not daring to say no to Torres and fulfilling all her whims. It was also strictly forbidden to tell anyone about life in Ket's house. Having allowed Desiree to quit her job as a stripper, Torres found her another occupation, meetings with clients for money. The same fate befell Letitia. The first to manage to escape from the toxic environment was Sol. After spending 42 days in Ket's house, she realized what trouble she had gotten into. The girl contacted her ex-boyfriend, who helped her escape. But even at large, Sol did not feel safe, because Torres had copies of her documents with confidential data. In addition, she knew that Zach, Ket's fiancé, had a whole arsenal of weapons and could easily track her down and punish her. Desiree and Letitia continued to live under one roof with their tormentor. Torres created profiles for the girls on dating sites, forcing them to engage in escorting and bring in $3,000 a day. Ket blocked any possibility for them to communicate with family and friends, who, alarmed by the sudden disappearance of the girls, turned to the police. News of the disappearance of 2 attractive girls instantly spread across America. It was then that Anna, Torres' first assistant, dared to tell the police about her stay in the blogger's house. Upon learning about this, Ket posted a post on social media with threats and accusations against Anna. She convinced her subscribers that the girl was an ungrateful traitor whom Torres sheltered in rented apartments. Urging followers to condemn Anna in the comments and write the worst about her, Ket promised to turn the liar's life into a real hell. Meanwhile, Anna and Sol filed official statements with the police, accusing Torres of unlawful imprisonment, forced labor and psychological abuse. Learning that law enforcement officers had begun to dig under her, Ket forced Desiree and Letitia to record video messages in which they convinced with feigned sincerity that they were in the blogger's house completely voluntarily. The girls stated that they were happy to be next to such an inspiring person, calling her a savior. They asked their relatives not to worry, not to look for them and not to bother them with calls and messages, because communication with families was supposedly undesirable for them. However, the parents did not believe a single word of theirs and, after watching the video, finally became convinced that their daughters were in trouble and needed urgent rescue. Ket continued to throw threats at Anna and Sol's social media. She did not hesitate to write nasty things to her beloved's father, who openly condemned her actions. In response, Torres promised the offended dad that he would pay dearly, resorting to typical magical gibberish. Gradually, a ring of justice began to tighten around Torres' persona. Together with Zach and 2 captive assistants, the blogger went to the state of Maine, but even there she could not feel safe. One day, when the whole company was driving in a car, Ket was called by the police. The investigator asked if she was holding the girls against their will. Of course not. The pseudo-guru feigned sincere surprise, agreeing to appear for a conversation at the police station. As soon as the conversation ended, the frightened Torres began instructing her wards on what to tell the police and how to behave. Desiree and Letitia sat motionless, afraid to move, while the self-proclaimed sorceress hurled threats at them. She had no idea that the girls were secretly recording her every word on a voice recorder. Torres appeared for a meeting with the cops the next day, accompanied by her assistants. Overwhelmed with horror, Desiree and Letitia were silent almost the entire time, afraid to breathe once again. Ket, on the other hand, with the confidence of an experienced manipulator, told tales about her business and insidious envious people who seek to compromise her. It was at that moment that the girls finally realized that all this time they had been under the detrimental influence of a dangerous scammer who had dragged them into dirty schemes and kept them in complete isolation from the outside world. Having dared to tell the truth, Desiree and Letitia testified against Torres. She was detained on suspicion of human trafficking, the use of slave labor and fraud in the field of healthcare. 36 young women turned to law enforcement agencies with statements about how the sorceress deceived and crippled their lives. The self-confident Ket was deported to her native Brazil, where she has been behind bars since November 2022. Torres did not want to hear about her guilt, believing that she ended up in prison unfairly. After all, next to her were women who had 10 to 15 murders on their account. Having heard the testimony of the victims in court, she snorted. When they slandered all these horrors on me, I could barely restrain myself from laughing out loud. First they called me a dangerous person with the ability to control people, and then they claimed that I was an ordinary fraudster who pretends to be someone she really isn't. Isn't there a contradiction in these accusations? I have been working with people for 9 years now and I have an extraordinary gift. My inner voice has helped 14,000 clients, among whom were millionaires and real celebrities, but there will always be envious people near success. It's just that some are born talentless, while others are like me, with a bunch of talents. The same spark of God instilled in me the confidence that I will still become a famous singer. Fame will always follow me wherever I go, Torres insisted. According to her version, she still hears the instructions of the all-knowing voice, which prompt her that she is doing the right thing. Ket denied that she shared territory with her ward girls or forced them to work. As proof to the contrary, the prosecutors provided the court with money transfers for large sums from Desiree, Letitia and Sol to Torres' accounts. The blogger brushed it off, saying that it was only money to pay for a taxi. July 2024 brought Ket Torres the verdict of the Brazilian court, 8 years behind bars. Anna, one of her first victims, said that 3 years of weekly meetings with a psychotherapist helped her return to normal life after the nightmare she experienced in the blogger's lair. The news that the offender is in prison brought the girl relief and hope that the rest of the victims of her actions will stop being silent and finally find the strength to speak out. Brazilian Desiree, who managed to get out of Torres' toxic embrace, wrote a book about her captive experience, admitting that she still hasn't recovered from the horrific events. She hopes that her story will serve as a warning to gullible girls who fall into the nets of manipulators. Ket Torres is due to be released in the fall of 2030, when she will be 41 years old. However, the Brazilian court has banned her from using the internet for life in order to prevent the recurrence of crimes. Law enforcement officials emphasize that the popularity of social networks has played into the hands of human traffickers and scammers, creating the perfect environment for recruiting victims. With the advent of new digital tools, it has become easier than ever to deceive trusting citizens. So be prudent and do not forget about the basic rules of safety, the cops advise. Check information, do not trust dubious persons on the internet and immediately report suspicious actions to law enforcement. This is the only way to protect yourself and your loved ones from getting into such troubles. This story has come to an end. What do you think about this story? Be sure to like and subscribe to support our channel. Thanks for watching and bye everyone.